Hey everybody, we're here with another interview with a voice actor from Clash Island. So I will ask the first question, which is who are you and who do you voice in Clash Island and how long have you been voice acting for?
So my name is Brian Tubbs, and I am voicing the character of Maximusblack. Very cool character. I've been now voice acting off and on for maybe about 10 years, but only recently have I started to go more professional. Now I have an agent, so I'm starting to gig more, and so yeah, I'm excited to do this because basically, like my agent was like, I really don't want you doing anything else for, without me going through, she wouldn't say it mean like that, but she says, hey, if you get picked up for something, pass it through me and then we'll move forward, that kind of thing. So, but I'm just super excited to be part of this. So, yeah, I mean, the first episode coming out on the 14th, right? 14th.
Yep, it's coming out on the 14th.
Yeah. Shared the link with my close friends, and they were excited about it. So
Nice. Yeah, it's I'm excited for it too. The trailer's been doing very well at this point in time. I think it's got somewhere around, let me double check. Currently it is at 2.8 thousand views, which is one of my better videos I've released. So
awesome.
So good the trailer is doing. So I guess the next question would be, how did you get the role for your character, and what was your experience on auditioning for the role?
So I got the role. Typical process. I'm honestly, I go to so many places for different auditions and things, and I honestly can't remember where I first came across the listing for the audition, but it might have been on Backstage. It might have been on Facebook, but I saw it, and I saw the quality of the animation. That was really what drew me in. I want to be a part of things that are quality. I mean, I want to be able to look at something and you want to be like, wow, that's cool. I was a part of that. So as soon as I saw that aspect of it, I saw what you were doing, Jesse, I was like, I really would want to be a part of in any way that they would have me. So I tried. So once I saw the list of characters, I just picked a few that I thought I could audition for, that it would be cool, and recorded lines, sent it in, got an email back saying, hey, like what we saw, we'd like to hear more. And then I think there was I don't think there was actually a second round of auditions there, but there was a discussion. And then once you guys were like, yeah, we would like for you to voice this character, and then we set up recording times. And I think one of the first things was adding me to our community chat and Discord, so which was exciting. And then, yeah, and it was off to the races. We got everything recorded, and I've been trying to stay busy. So when I saw that we're finally getting to see the premiere date, I was like, oh yes, finally! I've been waiting for this. So, and the process was, in terms of what happened in the recording session, it was really cool. To get live feedback. Most of the time when I record things, it's just record the material and then you give it over, and it is what it is. So it was really nice to be able to get that feedback. Well, I'd like it maybe a little less this or a little more of that, and that was useful.
Nice. Yeah, I like doing the live feedback more often. There's one of our voice actors. I know when we recorded his initial lines, it was the guy who plays Markiplier. We did the live back and forth the first time, but then when I asked him to do the promotional material, he came back and then just like, I sent him the script and I said, hey, if you want me to give live feedback, just let me know. But he ended up just recording all of it and then sending it to me. And he absolutely nailed every single aspect of it. So it's also nice when a voice actor can kind of like read your brain, know what you kind of want to happen. And it was nice to have him be able to do that. But I do enjoy the aspect of the live feedback. I think it gives more of a helps get the character better across, you know, because I've got all the dialogue in my head, so I'm kind of like hearing your voice and piecing it together right back into the production stuck in my head. So that's kind of how I do that.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm totally fine with just recording and sending, and I have my process there, and I will record many takes and fine tune it and finesse it and really listen and say, do I really like this, or listen back to it and say, that wasn't so good. But at the same time, as an actor, it is nice to, because you do wonder, what are they going to think? Is this what they're looking for? And no news is good news. And they're like, no, we got it. We got the stuff. Good to go. You usually don't get feedback as to how much it was liked or not liked. So you're often just wondering. But in this process, you know, it's like, well, can we try it this way? And it's like, all right, these are the things that I'm always doing in my own head. How might this not be the right tone here? I'm going too fast. I'm going too slow, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a nice change of pace to be able to have that live feedback.
Well, it's good to hear. I like doing it that way. So let's go into the next question. What did you like most about playing your character, and what about them did you find interesting?
Well, obviously my character is African American, a black guy, really cool. I mean, that's probably the coolest. That's the most enjoyable thing, is that he's cool. He's really cool, you know. I have a very mixed ethnic background in my whole life. People are like, what are you? What are you? And I'm like, well, I'm a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. I have African American, I mean, Native American, you name it. In fact, I did my ancestry, you know, and sure enough, all the things that, you know, your family's telling you are and you don't really know, it, bam, pinged right on the map. And so I was like, wow, okay, looks like nobody was lying to me then. but yeah, so I'm not the most plugged in totally in the pop culture sphere of things. Some of the characters I'm like, oh, I know exactly who that's based on, and it's boy, is it spot on. I really love that. And then there's some where I'm like, you know, it's just like any other character that you might have, where you're just like, what is the character about? I'm gonna do a voice and that's it. So for this one, it was not so much that I was super familiar in that way, but it was just the idea of the character I thought would be fun and sort of a little bit of a fun challenge to try and take this on and bring this character to life and in the most authentic way that I could possibly do it. That was my goal.
Yeah, and I think you had one of the more challenging characters to play because you are playing Maximusblack, who is role-playing as his GTA Online role-playing character, OTT, known as Auto-Tune Tyrone. So you're playing a character who's role-playing a character. So I thought that was a fun part of your performance.
And I did do a little bit of research before I started recording anything for even like my original audition, because there was references. So I went ahead and was like, well, all right, let me check this out, see what's going on here. And I was like, well, how close can I get to this voice, or how important is that, or is it more important that because I feel like if I'm not going to really nail a voice, if it's an existing voice and sort of like an impersonation, if you can't really perfectly nail the impersonation, probably shouldn't go full tilt into that, and more or less just try and develop something that you feel, you know, confident about, you feel strong, and above all else, authentic to what you're trying to do. So if it's, in this case, you know, this is comedic, so it needs to be authentic, but it also needs to have a certain flair to it. So yeah, I was shooting for what I thought in my mind was the right fit, and I guess it was.
Yeah, it was actually pretty spot on, because like it's hard to get the voice of somebody like Maximusblack, considering he has such a like unique voice. And I think the direction we went was to go with what would sound right coming out of the OTT character. And I think that's what we hit right on the head with the hammer there, because it's pretty spot on to how I think OTT would sound in a cartoon. So It's pretty spot
Sweet.
on. And I was just gonna, and I guess that rolls right into the next question. You kind of already answered it. Is did you do any research on the character you'd be playing, and what did you discover
Yeah.
about them that helped you perform them better?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I definitely did start YouTubing clips and, Google things. And then it was more listening. That was the most important thing, is listening and trying to understand cadence, tone, how this the delivery, so that it would seem like this was coming from this guy that people are going to see when they're watching the show. And I wanted it to feel like when they hear that, it doesn't even occur to them at all that this isn't an authentic character, that they just roll with it. They're just into it. So, but I don't know. I feel like it wasn't really so much that I'm like looking to like or dislike a character, because sometimes that you'll get a character that you actually don't like and you're playing something. In fact, I had an audition that I turned down, but my agent wants me to do it anyway, and I don't know, I'm struggling with it because it's like a docu movie about a real life story and they want me to play a guy who doesn't even or he's a predator, he's like the worst kind. And so I'm reading this in there, and the scenes that I would be doing, and I go to my wife and I'm like, I know you're an actor and you're just supposed to do this, but I don't really want to do this. It's just not the direction I want to go. Luckily, a much bigger audition came up, and I told my agent, and I said, I just don't know. Are you cool if I turn this down, because I want to focus all my energy on this, and it's due like in a week, and these would be kind of on top of each other, and I just didn't want to divide my attention. So in a way, you do like to play characters that you like, and sometimes you will be playing characters that you don't like. And she's still bugging me about it, so I might end up doing it because the deadline passed, and she says, well, yeah, but they still want you, so can you put something together? And I'm like, oh crap, I thought I got out of that one.
Like, I don't want to play your Predator character unless I'm playing like the Predator in the Predator movie, like, cool.
Yeah. Now that would be cool. I don't want to wear that costume though. I even heard like Jean-Claude Van Damme was in the suit for a minute, and then he quit because they were actually in the Amazon, I think, and it was very hot, very miserable.
Yeah, getting pretty hot in there.
Yeah, no, I would love the idea of being a predator, but I don't know that I'd actually want to do that work. So that'd be tough.
Yeah, just gonna say, like, I think the cool thing about like you playing OTT is like, I've been a fan of Maximusblack since like 2012, and having him a part of this has always been something that I've wanted to have happen, just because I've been a fan of his for so long. So I think it's like, okay. I think your performance as him was excellent. So I wouldn't worry too much about like how that all turned out. So
well, that's great. You would know, and so if I'm pleasing you, then I'm pleased, because honestly, I wouldn't know if I'm doing super great. I mean, I hear it and I'm like, I'm trying, but there's a certain bias. It's hard to hear I don't know. It's a strange thing, because in one sense, it's like your business is hearing yourself, and tone and pitch and all those things. But sometimes we like to favor ourselves and fancy that we're doing better than we really are doing. So I try not to do that. Usually I'm pretty critical of myself. So to hear that you liked it, then that's all I really need, right?
Yeah, and I guess this question kind of like, this next question is more so one that I would like to know, because you've been doing so much work with other people, more trying to get into professional work. What was your initial thoughts on the script for Clash Island without revealing any spoilers? What did you think of it when you first read it?
Well, I didn't really read it all. Is that bad to say? I didn't really read it all. I kind of just read my parts and then did them. Is that horrible to say? I did read through some of it. I mean, I did. But I'm a boring kind of guy. Like I don't know that I'm in the world enough to get all the inside jokes, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
This is a very specific world, and the comedy I feel like is pointed perfectly. And I was like, well, maybe I'm not that exact audience, but I could still see how good it was, like in terms of the writing and the technical aspect. That was really what struck me. I was like, okay, this is very well written. These jokes are going to work. I could see the complexity in the story and the fun with all of the different games and different things that everybody was going to be doing on the island. And then I remember thinking, I was like, I wonder, like, because, like any of these types of shows, not everybody's going to be there the entirety of the time. So I'm like, well, I wonder how far I'll go. Like, when will this end? And I remember thinking, well, I want to keep going. I don't want this to end right now. Yeah, so I'm eager to see how far it goes,
Yeah, I think a lot of the voice actors who voice act like Total Drama Island characters or their characters involved in some sort of competition, they always want their character to make it to the very end when they're voice acting that character. Not only because they like their character, but because they want to keep playing that character longer. They want to keep on the show a little bit longer. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that it held up, because people always tell me my writing is good, but I never believe them because I'm always like living in denial. Like, nah, it's not that good. It's not that good in my own opinion. But to hear people like constantly tell me that, this writing is really good, it's huge reaffirmation of like my writing skills. That's very good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that you would. The other voice actors as well, who I don't know, but I have heard their work. And over the years, I've definitely been a part of some productions where not everyone is as skilled as everyone else. And when I'm listening to everybody, I'm like, wow, this is some really great voice actors. Like, they're really delivering some strong performances. And that, to me, I don't think that would be the case if they were looking at this and thinking, this isn't so good. I think they would be like, maybe I just will pass. But when they read this, I'm like, wow, this is cool, man. And also, look at how it looks visually. That gets you excited. And then and like I say, you don't just have, it seems like all these folks that I'm listening to, they're all so good. And you don't get that. That's like a reaffirmation every single time to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Feel good. I think being self-critical is an essential part of life too, but don't beat yourself up to the point where you don't believe in yourself. You gotta have that.
Yeah,
fire.
It's starting to get reaffirmed by multiple people that I actually am good at this. So I'm starting to be like, yeah, I'm good at this. I just got to keep humble about it. So that's how I try to think about it. So I guess this kind of touches on the next question. You're kind of leading me into all my questions. Is what would you like to see happen on Clash Island? It sounds like you'd like to see OTT and make it to the very end so you can stick around and keep playing them.
Of course. For me, it's always about how interesting will the scenes be and how much performance will I be able to infuse into it. That's what gets my juices flowing when I'm reading through something. If the character is interacting meaningfully with the storyline, that's more fun. No one likes to do exposition, which they're really, in this scope of this, I don't think there's a lot. There is always some, but you want it to move the story forward. You want the things that people are doing to lead into other things. And so I definitely want to see my character go as far as possible, but also I want that the aspect of continuing on to continue to be fun and challenging, and so that's what I would like to see happen for him.
There is some very good news for you then, because so when you recorded OTT, he hadn't been a part of what was known as like the survivor of the total, like he's part of the GTA 5 roleplay server No Pixel, or he was at the time. And on that server, they have their own version of Survivor. And just recently, OTT was a cast member on that version of Survivor. So the guy so Maximusblack roleplayed OTT on Survivor, and he made it to the final 3 as OTT.
On the actual show, on the actual Survivor show?
Not the actual Survivor show, but the Grand Theft Auto 5 No Pixel version of it. It's kind of like what we're doing, but inside GTA 5. the video game.
Oh,
Yeah,
and you're saying that the actual dude, he was voicing that?
yeah, he was playing OTT in the video game Grand Theft Auto 5, and they were
Oh,
playing
wow.
they were playing Survivor in it, and he made it to the final 3. And lots of the stuff that he did, I'm going to incorporate into OTT's actions on Clash Island, because he was a freaking mastermind when he was playing OTT and Survivor. He was a complete mastermind. You know, he was loudmouth. He was going after people. He was calling people out at tribal council. He was popping off. So that just gave me so much more inspiration to make OTT like this character who is constantly playing the game and constantly trying to win. So Maximusblack did us a huge favor by showing us how OTT would actually play the game of Survivor in something like the thing we're doing. So we have a lot to work with there going forward.
Oh, wow. Okay, then that does sound exciting.
Yeah. All right. So now we're
Yeah,
gonna
I'd
go.
be interested to see what we do there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can actually watch it on YouTube. I'll see if I can find it. Maybe I'll link
Yeah.
it to you so you can see how OTT did
Okay.
it, because it's really interesting. So let's move on to the more questions about acting and voice acting itself, because I have lots of people ask me, you know, can I voice act in your project, and can I be a part of your project, and can I help in certain ways? And a lot of them is voice acting, and they want to voice act in my project. So I've been asking all the voice cast these questions to give people advice on what they should do. So the question is, lots of people would like to get into voice acting. What advice and suggestions would you give people interested in pursuing it?
Oh, that's a very good question. And it's funny because there was a time when I was asking those very same questions, and here I was always keenly listening when, you know, someone maybe on a show or podcast was giving that kind of an answer to the general public. My daughter has asked me to take her to several cons. She likes Supernatural, so taking her to that, and Comic Cons, and inevitably at these panels, people will ask a similar question to the panelists about acting in general, but voice acting too. And I always think that their answers are pretty spot on. I mean, I think the first thing you need to ascertain is, or you need to develop, is acting ability. However you want to get about that, whether it be classes, whether it be taking on projects like this, you got to develop your ability. I recommend, and well, back in the day, there used to be something called Voice Actors Alliance online, that I don't think exists anymore, or it's transformed into another kind of thing. But there are ways that you can get involved in projects that are probably not going to be paid. And in the very beginning, I always went after those kinds of things where someone with a lot of passion was making something, and making it a higher level than an individual or a few people should really be capable of with a busy life. And so it was really good. And I was like, man, I really want to. And then when they put out these auditions online, I would jump on it. And every now and then, even these sites would have some small payment in it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm auditioning like crazy. And through that process and listening back, I can hear how maybe it's not as authentic, or maybe I'm over exaggerating things or whatnot. And so just by trial and error, I started to hone my skill and get better through repetition. Also, acting in screen or film was helpful, but not as much as you might think. It's very different. Voice acting is very different, as I'm sure you know. But I would recommend that you start developing your skill set. You're going to need a microphone. You're going to need a setup. Get online. Start looking anywhere and everywhere. Google it. Whatever you got to do to find places where people are making productions that, if you're starting out, yes, you're going to have to take probably no pay. You're going to have to fight and claw and scratch your way into any production you can get into. As you start to build up on that, you take the voice samples or things. You don't, for a voice reel, you're not really going to use the actual animation stuff. It's only going to be clips from your voice. And you're going to put together a little demo. And then you can start expanding on that. And you're going to put it on a resume. And then as you start to submit for other projects, you have you have a resume now, and you have some demos to go along with it. So that increases the likelihood you'll get the part, and hopefully better and better parts. So you have better and better quality demos. Eventually you're going to want to, with these demos and with some credits, hopefully some on IMDb as well, you're going to want to approach an agent, a talent agency that you go to. You're going to want to research them, make sure they're legit. And then sometimes it's hard to get their attention. I mean, actually, it's always hard to get their attention. They're not just they don't want to answer emails, and that's okay. You're going to have to stick with it. And then once they decide, then they're going to audition you. They're going to make sure you can do it. And then once they decide that, they're going to say, okay, now give me all your stuff. Give it, your demos, your resume, all those things, so that they can start submitting you for work. So it really just starts with, it does start with passion, but it also starts with assessing an honest assessment of where you're at in your skill set, and then improving it. And then your equipment as well will get better over time as you start to gig, and maybe get a couple paid gigs. You can throw that money back into the craft.
Oh yeah, lots of good insight there. Yeah, because lots of people, I know online, people always say, like, sometimes live action actors don't usually make very good voice actors because the skill sets are completely different. I know people were talking about when Chris Pratt was going to voice Mario, they were like, why do they keep casting live action actors as these like characters that require just voice acting? And I think there is different skill sets, but I think you've managed to kind of like have a good split of both.
Thanks. But the other thing is that I've noticed that a lot of screen actors and just or television, film, whatever, they have gotten better relatively to 80s, 90s time frame, when they were very separate worlds, completely separate. In fact, there was a time when TV and movie was totally separate worlds, and a movie star would absolutely never do television, and TV folks were trying their best to move up into movies. Well, voice was its own separate community. Then they did not meet up, and then slowly bigger actors started to get into the voice acting world, and it was pretty clear to audiences that even though they were brilliant actors, that they weren't connecting to the voice side. However, they learned quick, and a lot of especially people that enter the game now, they know that there's a strong likelihood that they're going to be doing both. Yeah. So they are working not just on one side of their craft. A lot of them are doing the work to develop both screen and voice work. So I've noticed over the years they've gotten better at it.
Yeah, definitely lots of improvement. All right, so the final question is, how can people follow you personally and find other projects you've been in?
IMDb for anything I've done, Brian Tubbs, and you'll find me. I think there's like a couple other ones, but I'm the only actor. So if you go to Brian Tubbs on Google and IMDb, you'll see me and my stuff. I'm just starting to really realize how much I've got to up my social game in terms of different platforms. And I have a personal Facebook, but I don't really do anything with that. Just keep connected to folks. I don't have a TikTok, but now like my daughters are like, Dad, you got to get a TikTok. Come on. And I actually, I'm like, no, but I recently ran into an actor at a con, and I got a chance to talk to him for a little bit, and he was like, yeah, I would definitely just start producing whatever little content you can on social media and start building up an audience. And I have seen auditions where they're specifically looking for people with large followings on social media. So I'm like, I guess I actually have to do this, because I really don't. I work, I try to get involved in acting and voiceover as much as I can, but I'm not one of those guys that's constantly posting things. So it's definitely a weak point for me, but I am on things. I have the ordinary stuff, a LinkedIn and a Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel. I don't use it for, it's just my profile. But I don't know, more to come on that. I guess, is the answer. More to come. Not really a whole lot now. Just Google me.
All right. Well, I guess when you have your social media stuff figured out, because I know I sure as hell don't. I don't post on Twitter or Facebook anywhere, so I just do the YouTube thing. But anyways,
I am on X. I am on X too. I just look at my name. They'll see. But again, it's just like an ordinary person's account.
That's the same way. That's the same way it is for me. But anyways, that's it for the interview, Brian. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come have a little conversation with me, because you have auditions out going all around. It sounds like for stuff. So pretty busy.
I do. I am trying to stay busy. Yes. So that's good.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time out of the day, and thank you for doing this interview. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.